Okay, this is the recap for March 3rd, 2024. So, heading into the day, we had a neutral bearish short-term bias, and the overnight was neutral in a range, and um, we were leaning range on the day after two big down days. And the main question was, are we going to get more weakness, or are we going to start to consolidate? Um, and is this turning into a much more bearish situation, or are we going to have some kind of false breakdown and go back to being somewhat bullish? So heading into the day, I was setting up the trade. I set up a 2R trade. Let's see, like that, and then the trade I ended up going with was, I think this 2.5. No, this one. Yeah, 38.50. So I was being optimistic with the targets, thinking that if it came down here that we could rotate back up and definitely get 60, and then this was sort of a stretch target. It held at pre-market support, which I wasn't looking to trade. I was kind of feeling a little more bearish coming in because of this, which I think is maybe a bit of an error. Either way, there wasn't really an exhaustion here for me to trade, so I think you were talking about that on WhatsApp today. And anyway, this trade didn't work, so then I had this set up, but I had this, I think it's 71 initially, I think, with my targets lower, but then I saw this giant wide range bar, and I wasn't looking to trade this pre-market resistance because it had been tested in the overnight, so this was my first possible trade on the short side, and then here and here. And so when I saw that bar, I started trying to figure out, okay, let me get something defensive here. And so I set this up with it then behind 80, which I thought always had something. Anyway, I set this up in a more defensive way. I think I might have changed it after that, but decided to skip the 70 level altogether, and then started looking at the 85 area and the zone there, and then I ended up with this. I was at 83.75, and then it started balancing here, and I still was going to trade it because the overall was still exhausted, and the bias on the day was against the trade, but the larger time frame bias was still neutral bearish, and the larger pattern now was potential fail breakdown. So there was a fair amount going against this. I was still looking to trade it and to see if I could at least get down to 72. I figured if it exhausted into here that I could probably trade to 72, and then I could figure out the 66 later. And then it stopped at 80, 50, and I set this up. I changed this after, so this first I had was at 65. Yeah, I think I was at 65 quarter, and my stop was a little higher. And then we had this reaction here, and we started to go back up. But after we started to bounce here, I just pulled it down just a little further. But it went almost all the way back up to the high. That trade was passed, so I canceled it, and then it slammed back down and hit it. But that was second test, not something I'm looking for. Did not do that. And then the only other trade I had this set up this way for with 2R risk, and then I decided to break it up and look at it like this, with a 98.75 stop, and then a a 99 stop, and then a 98.75 entry, and these were both going to be 3 or 4R. So I thought that breaking that up, there was high reward there. But going from the front of the zone, I thought it could be the high of day, and potentially that was good. 2R entry there, 2R risk, and we didn't get there. And then by like 2 o'clock, I was thinking, okay, I definitely don't want to do anything. I didn't want to do anything after this, and then I didn't trade this because it's too late in the day. And but once the IB was put in, it was a really big IB, but once it was put in, I thought, the range projections were saying it could go to like 85 or so. So I thought, based on the fail breakdown, we could have, like, this was going to be the 5-minute pullback, and then we'd have the bigger, which we got here. I thought we'd get the bigger one tomorrow, but it looks like we got it into the close. So we sort of have the small time frame and the bigger time frame fail breakdown pullbacks now. So going to see if we can start to move up back into this range, or if we're going to balance in here. But once the IB was in, I was thinking, okay, range expansion to the upside. This validates this pullback, and I originally had my stop. I think it's like 2 points from the mid, and then when it started to balance, I just put it down a little bit further, just because it thought that target was going to be a little bit harder. But that's pretty much everything. So now I think we're working with this new balance, and possibly can expand the balance up to here, push the balance back down to here. But I think what you were talking about on the on WhatsApp was, this trade here, which didn't have any kind of exhaustion, but it's at the it's still at basically this whole thing is the larger time frame support, and so it's sitting on it. So you can take it here and take it here, and I think that's what you're talking about. And then something I definitely missed is you were saying, you've got the larger time frame pattern with you here, and I wasn't really thinking about it after it had gone all the way down here, that this pattern was still with it. But I see what you're saying. It's really just the day after, so you haven't crossed the range. You've got the fail breakout. You're thinking it's going to cross the range, so you've got this pullback is high odds to finish that cross, and that's also why I shouldn't have gotten caught with the long here. And I think in any case, the long that I took right here, if I was really thinking, I think I could have avoided it, because you've got fail breakout, weakness, you've got weakness overnight, you've got weakness heading into it, you've got weakness everywhere. The psychology of this is that these people are in a very panicky position, and so this is the panic that resulted from that. And so I think this trade is avoidable, and I think that's the mistake and the lesson from yesterday. And then I think this trade maybe could have been a little more defensive, but I still think it's 44. It's probably okay, and it's just maybe an unfortunate stop. I would have had my first scale, and then so I think I kind of understand what happened there, so that's good. And then here, I think I understand what's going on here. So that's it.